Miller Spectrum 375 plasma cutter. Guess how much I got it for? $0. Nada, nothing, freebie. Yeah, I got it for nothing, which I don't know if it works yet, to be fair. So I was at my buddy's house a couple weeks back, and he has a larger Miller plasma cutter, which he has hooked up, and that's mainly what he uses. And he was just cleaning up a bunch of scrap metal. I mean, he was going balls to the walls cleaning up his shop. And in his dump trailer, along with all the other scrap he was throwing in there, I also got a nice piece of chain from him. He just had this thing in the trailer about to take to the scrapyard. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing with that? He's like, I'm taking it to the scrapyard. Why, you want it? I'm like, does it work? He's like, I don't know. And he offered it to me, and then, hell yeah, I'll take a chance at it. I've been wanting a plasma cutter for quite some time. I got an oxyacetylene torch, which I mean, I get by with it. The cuts are a little bit rough. I'm not the best with it, but you know, obviously I can cut something, but you know, it's just not very smooth. You don't get very clean cuts, and you know, you also have the slag. And the other thing I have a couple angle grinders, 4.5-inch angle grinders, which I use those cut quite often. You know, I got the cut-off disc, but they're very slow. I don't like them, you know, how fast that disc rotates, and you know, I'm sure you guys seen videos where, you know, they'll blow apart and piece land in some guy's face shield, which always wear a face shield and hearing and eye protection when you're using those. So yeah, I don't know if it works. That is the big question, but I mean, if it doesn't work, I'd like to see if I can get it to work. So a little bit about this machine. It looks like it has a 25-foot gun. In the side compartment over here, which I'll show you in a minute, it has a side compartment full of what looks to be new consumables. The grounding clamp, that's still in decent shape. No complaints there. Here's what's interesting to me. This machine can be wired up to 240 or 120. It looks like, because there's only 3 wires in here, it was wired up to 120. There's a little switch back here. You gotta hardwire these. It's not like the new machines where you have the multi-voltage plugs. But the end of the plug is cut off, so I'm a bit concerned, and I'm not really sure why. I asked him why the plug was cut off. He says he doesn't remember, so I'm not sure that this machine's gonna work. I'm gonna try and put a new plug on here, hook some air up to this, and see if it works while trying not to die. Stay tuned. Okay, so I popped the cover off and everything appears to be in pretty decent shape on the inside. Not really sure what I'm looking at, to be completely honest, but it doesn't look like any of the components have, you know, literally blown apart or anything. Condition of all the wires seems to be good. Been checking all the connections. So one of the issues that I've found thus far is I've removed the air inlet plug. The way a plasma cutter works, well, I can't explain it exactly, but I do know that it needs to have power, and it also has to have compressed air going into it. And looking at this air inlet, I mean, that sucker's completely clogged, and I've been taking a little bit of a pick, or I've been taking a pick and just trying to get some of the crud out of here. I'm not really sure how deep this goes, so what I believe I'm going to have to do is remove, this appears to be some type of in-machine air filter. So I think I'm going to unscrew that and see if I can clean out as much crud out of here as possible, because, you know, if that runs through here, goes through the machine, gets clogged up somewhere in that line, then I'm going to be in trouble. So it definitely pays to try and clear this out. So let me get going on that. Okay, so I think I am ready for a test here. Here's the consumables compartment that I was talking about. I mean, how could you throw this thing out? You know, I'm curious if the reason why it wasn't working was because these 2 air inlet fittings were clogged up, but I guess we will find out. I have 2 blocks of wood, which I'm going to stand on for insulation purposes, just in case I get zapped, which I think it's very unlikely, but you know what, first time testing it doesn't hurt. So that's a new plug. It's wired up properly. I just have an air line running directly to the compressor. I should have a second filter besides the in-machine filter, but we'll see if it works first. There is a regulator on the front here. You want to regulate the pressure to 60 psi, which that's already regulated. So yeah, let me set up the camera and we'll turn this thing on and see what happens. Alright, here we go. Machine is currently off. I'm standing on my blocks of wood. Alright, let me plug her in. I'm plugging her into this orange extension cord, which I'm not sure if this is going to be heavy duty enough for this machine, but alright, the moment of truth. Let's see what happens. I like that sound. That sounds pretty good. Now let's see what happens when I pull the trigger. Nothing. Absolutely nothing with the trigger. Oh, you know what's interesting? My pressure gauge is off. I forgot to turn on the air. When we turn that air on, pressure gauge is still on. Let me try send the pressure a little bit higher, see if that helps. Alright, pressure gauge is off now. Now let me pull this trigger, see if we got anything. The real moment of truth. Drum roll. Pressure gauge is flashing. I think I'm going to have to turn my air compressor on. I don't know. I'm not seeing the typical blue flame like you'd see out of a plasma cutter. It could perhaps be that I'm not getting enough pressure. Let me check how my air compressor is doing. I'm still at 90. Let me turn the air compressor on, see if that makes a difference. It also could be that I'm not getting enough amps, but I think the machine, I don't know. Alright, so I've been playing around with that cup a little bit, and I did see a flash, so this thing might actually work. I got a little piece of steel set up, got my grounding clamp set up to it. I'm putting on some dark shade glasses, so I'm really feeling pretty confident that this thing isn't going to shock me now. So let's see if this thing actually works. Come on, baby. Damn it. Power. Not enough power? Now it won't work at all. Interesting. I bet you it's because the extension cord I'm using cannot supply the amount of amps that I need to run this machine. So let me hook up this machine in a different orientation, perhaps directly to an outlet, and see if that makes a difference. Okay, we are ready for test number 3. I have the plasma cutter directly hooked up to an outlet now. So let's see if that makes a difference. I need to turn on the air. I see no lights on the machine. Let's hope this works. What happened? Power. Interesting. Even hooked up to that outlet, it's not giving me enough power. Alright, I'm going to shut her down. I guess you could call this a fail so far. I don't like being a failure when it comes to fixing things. Alright, so trying to figure out what's going on. The outlet that's feeding this machine is in a series with a couple other outlets, and the other outlets obviously are drawing some power. And I believe that the outlets that go on this feeder are all 15 amp. It is entirely possible that I need a dedicated 15 or 20 amp circuit for this machine in order for it to run properly on 110. So that's kind of what I'm guessing right now, because it lit up, and then as soon as I touched the material, more or less, I mean, the power light started flashing, indicating to me that it would appear that this machine is not getting enough power. Another option that I'm going to have to do some research on the back of this machine, there is a switch to switch this machine from 120 to 240. But when I had the tin off, it didn't look like there was really an easy way to wire it up to 240, unless I missed something. So I think I'm going to look up this model online, go through some forums, and see if I can figure anything out. Also, another issue with that, well, one benefit is I do have a dedicated 240 line coming in the garage. Here's the issue. That line goes to either the compressor, or the MIG welder, or the arc welder. Now, those of you that have run a plasma cutter before know that you need to have a continuous stream of compressed air. Well, I can build up, a certain amount of pressure in the tank, but as soon as I start running this thing, I may be able to run it 4 or 5 minutes continuously before that tank has to recharge, which I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. That's been one of my concerns. So that's my hypothesis at this point. So yeah, I'm going to go online and definitely look up some information on this machine, and we'll try again another day.
Okay, so after going online and doing some research on this machine, I was able to find the original manual for this machine, and I'm 99% certain that the issue that I'm having with this machine is inadequate power. According to the original manual for this machine, it needs to have a dedicated 20 amp circuit. And if you recall earlier in this video, I had mentioned that the receptacles in my garage are running a series, and it's only on a 15 amp breaker, so I'm certain that there's not enough amps available to supply this machine. So what I'm going to do now is I have learned the proper way to wire this machine up to 240. So I'm going to have to get a 240 plug, which I'm about to order on Amazon now. As soon as that comes in, then I'll hook it up to the machine and we will give it another test. Again, I do have my concerns over that the air compressor is only going to be able to supply, air to the plasma cutter for so long, but I guess it's better to have to keep refilling the air compressor as opposed to not having a plasma cutter at all. So I can only benefit from here. So that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more.